Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Tax Matters. I'm Chamaka Ohaochi. We are already in the second quarter of the year 2022. January is gone, February is gone, and March is gone. But hey, there is a need to always pause, look back and assess one's performance in the previous year, be you an individual or a corporate body. The aim is to strategize for optimal performance at all times. To this effect, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, which is a government agency saddled with the responsibility of assessing, collecting, and accounting for taxes on behalf of the federal government, recently held its 2022 Corporate Plan Retreat from Thursday, the 31st of March to Friday, the 1st of April 2022 with the theme Consolidating on the Gains of FIRS Reforms. The man that is at the helm of affairs at the Federal Inland Revenue Service is Mr. Muhammad Nami, the Executive Chairman FIRS, Chairman Joint Tax Board, and the President of the Commonwealth Association of Tax Administrators. And there is no better person to discuss on how far and how well the service has performed in the previous year than the Executive Chairman himself. Executive Chairman, sir, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for visiting my office, and thank you to your team.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
So let us begin by congratulating you and by extension the FIRS on the sterling performance in the year 2021. We understand that the FIRS performed or achieved much more than the target set for it. We would like to know, what would you attribute these achievements to?
Let's first of all give glory to God. I will also appreciate the taxpaying public, because we are in FIRS, because they are there to pay their taxes. I also say a big thank you to our stakeholders, including those in the media and Tax Matters inclusive, for being there for us, for providing taxpayer education, and for educating Nigerians on the need for paying their taxes. I think I'll be unfair if I start by answering your question without appreciating the staff of FIRS. These are a crop of very hardworking people that have exhibited professionalism and resilience in the year 2021. And they are continuing to do so this year, even when we continue to battle with insecurity, some significant impact of COVID-19, and above all, the current crisis in Ukraine. We're able to provide some certain amount to FARC on a monthly basis to share, so that my brother, your own sister in the village, are able to pay salary, are able to get social amenities that they require from the government.
All right, sir. Now, what would you consider as other major achievements of you in the office?
Well, when we came on board, and just like you rightly pointed out, that was the basis for this year's management retreat, so that we're able to look into what happened yesterday, what have we been able to do yesterday, and getting to where we are today. And also to be able to compare notes to ensure that we map out strategy so that we seamlessly get where we want to get to tomorrow. So when we came on board, we set for ourselves certain objectives, and we classify them under 4 buckets. We look at stakeholders as key in order for us to achieve the goals that we have set for ourselves, so that there will be need for us to collaborate with critical stakeholders. we also feel we should focus more on the customer. Let's deliver the service that they will appreciate. Let's deliver service that are cutting edge, that will impact in that which we do. Let's do things in such a manner that will make tax payment easy for them. Then come the third one, which is you can't operate without necessary data for purpose of planning, necessary data for purpose of assessment in line with the definition you just gave. We cannot equally collect taxes without data. And above all, we cannot account for it if we do not have data. So we decided to make that as the third bucket. And the fundamental one was to rebuild our institution. We are not saying FIRS is not an institution. The one we came on board some 2 years, 4 months ago, we identified certain gaps, and we feel we should come up with strategy on how to fix it. So what we did in the last retreat was to look into those objectives. Are we really achieving what we have set out for ourselves to achieve? If the answer is no, what have we done wrongly? If the answer is yes, what have we done rightly so that we're able to fix the issues or continue to do what we're doing rightly so that we can do more for our country? That was the essence of the retreat.
So on the assumption of office in December 2019, you spoke about laying more emphasis on indirect taxes as against direct taxes. Now, how well has the FIRS done in that regard?
Well, thank you very much. The emphasis that we are laying, or we've been laying, on indirect taxes is actually paying off. Because if you look at the results we are looking at today, and long before I became chairman of FIRS, if you look at our previous records, you will realize the direct tax accounted for over 60% of what we collect as a revenue agency for the 3 tiers of government. But if you look at the results last year, and you look at the numbers critically, you discover that by the time I came on board in 2019, we were slightly above 1.1 trillion in VAT collections alone. And because of the emphasis we place on indirect taxes, to in the year 2020, we moved the goalpost to about 1.5 trillion naira. So the story and the narratives are getting better, because in the year that we're just discussing, that is the year under review, the year 2021, the VAT alone moved from 1.1 in 2019 to almost 2.1 in 2021. So even if you talk about inflation, even if you talk about the foreign exchange fluctuation, even if you talk about other issues, fiscal issues that affect our economy today, the exchange rate officially has now moved up by over 100%. The inflation has not gone up by over 100%. So the emphasis of indirect tax is paying off. Why we have to do that? We've discovered that when we deploy technology and we make the process seamless for people, they're able to pay and remit. Then the second thing that I want to draw, the second statistic I want to draw your attention to is the issue of electronic money transfer levy. By the time we came on board, above stamp duty and the electronic money transfer levy was slightly above 20 billion in a year. By the end of last year, we received over 100 billion from the tax type. So the emphasis is paying off. And the intention is that by the end of our administration in 2023, we should be in the position to advise the government or the Joint Tax Board on the need to focus more on the indirect taxes. It provides you more money to run or to fund your budgetary requirement. It's very easy to collect. People pay, they don't even know that they are paying. So that is the magic that indirect taxes do, and that is why we feel we emphasize on that, and that is why we're getting to where we're already getting to today.
That is very commendable. Now, in the year 2020, renewed emphasis was placed on collection of stamp duties. Along with that came the controversy on which government agency should collect stamp duties. We would like to know, how do matters stand now?
Well, it's a very difficult, very simple but very difficult question to answer. Simple because the laws are clear on whose mandate is it to collect stamp duty at the center and whose mandate is it to collect at the subnational level, which is federal revenue and state of internal revenues respectively. Why it is difficult is we have pocket of legal cases around it. And when you have a case before law court, you should be in a position to limit your utterances, conversations, and conclusions on such matter so that the court will not pick us up and say we are predetermining the outcome of the case before us. Otherwise, in all of this, if you even look at it, was from the Finance Act 2021, I think that issue had been squarely laid to rest. The reason being, FIRS is the sole agency of the federal government today that has the statutory responsibility for assessment, collection, enforcement, and accounting for taxes at the federal level. I think that singular gesture from National Assembly answers the difficult question that you've posed before me.
All right, Executive Chairman, sir. And we could also recall that you promised that stamp duties will become the next black gold. What is stamp duty as a tax type bringing into the basket? Because I know you mentioned that from EMTL, that's Electronic Money Transfer Levy, the service was able to generate 100 billion naira and above. So how much is, or what is stamp duty bringing into the basket?
Well, the two of them, whether Electronic Money Transfer Levy, because it's just a change in name. When we all were born into this world, we saw our parents writing checks, requesting us to go to the bank to cash money for them. The platforms that we have today for electronic transactions were not there. So for each check slip, or for each checkbook, up to a certain period of time that I can easily remember, up to the year 2015, if you request for any checkbook, you pay additional 2,000 naira for the checkbook. You are not paying for the paper that is given to you by the bank, in which you are going to write the payee's name or your name to be able to cash money. What you are paying for is the stamp on that checkbook or on that check leaf. So it has always been there, but now that transactions are done more electronically, we feel or advise the government to change the name to Electronic Money Transfer Levy. So it is still the stamp duty that our parents used to pay. It is still the stamp duty that people that still choose to transact business using check that they are still paying. So if you put these two together, last year, from Electronic Money Transfer Levy and stamp duty alone, we got over 114 billion for the government.
Let's go taxing. Hand in hand, cheerfully. We go taxing as birds of a feather that flock around to make a living. With our seniors drawn on the field, we go to pay our taxes cheerfully, knowing that our lives come to naught without us taxing together, to build our homestead, to mend our lives anew, to make our lives whole. Let's go taxing, hand in hand cheerfully, drawing our strength like a broom that breaks knots, for taxing together makes us wholesome.
I'm a very busy man. My business involves a lot of traveling and I interface with lots and lots of people and organizations. Tax compliance used to be a big drag on my business. It was time consuming and very costly. But now, no more. Introducing the FIRS Tax Pro Max, the truly fully end-to-end tax administration solution for companies' income tax, value-added tax, petroleum profits tax, and all other tax types. For fast, efficient, and convenient end-to-end tax experience, log on to www.taxpromax.firs.gov.ng. Tax Promax has turned things around for me. It is fast, user-friendly, and cost-effective. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC.
We are back. We still have with us the #1 taxman in Nigeria, the Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mr. Muhammad Nami. Executive Chairman, sir, welcome once again.
Thank you.
Now, your administration is credited with the introduction of the landmark end-to-end tax administration solution, Tax Pro Max, designed to make tax administration and compliance as easy as ABC for taxpayers. Now, I would like to know, how helpful has Tax Pro Max been? In other words, how has it helped in the attainment or the achievement of the
let me start by
target?
thank you for that beautiful question. The reason being, one, we took the risk in the year 2020 because it came to limelight only in June last year, while we insisted that everybody must migrate, all the taxpayers should migrate when it comes to filing, payment, and reconciliation of tax matters. You have to, or tax returns and remittances, you have to migrate to Tax Pro Max. We took the risk in 2020, a risk that we felt was too ambitious, but behold, we're happy to announce to you and Nigerians that we've done the right thing. Because during last year's tax dialogue, Mr. President directed that as a service, we should go on study tour so that we carry out study of selected best tax administrative authorities globally, and come back to Nigeria to implement the changes that, to implement our experiences that issues that we come across that we hitherto do not have back home here. Or what are those things that these guys are doing differently to making sure that they're doing better than other revenue authorities in Nigeria. So we went to few countries, and the only African country we went was a country that was like Nigeria before I came on board. They were one of the people that were relying on service providers outside the continent of Africa for providing integrated tax administrative service delivery solution to system to them, only to discover that they were actually not doing the right thing. And they took the risk that we have taken today, and they are better for it. What they did, their president came out to tell the citizens that because of certain limitations, the simple fact that you will go buy this, you are not in control of the technology, that the best of hands in their country to come together and develop their own solution and ignore providers that will not give them source code Just the way we change laws this year in Nigeria on a yearly basis today, for every change in tax law or any provision, you have to go back to the owners of this system, request that they upgrade your system because you do not have control over it. You do not even have as simple as issues of source code. So they decided to do what we did in Nigeria, and today, I think they are the #1 revenue authority in Africa in terms of efficiency, in terms of accountability, in terms of transparency. So what we did was to do the same thing we have. When we got there, the same one we were having issues last year on people migrating, they were actually in pain because this was exactly what they went through. So they needed to contact me, but fortunately, I stood my ground. But the government insisted this is the right way to go, and we did it. So what have we been able to achieve with Tax Pro Max? We'll be able to come up with a solution that is seamless, a solution that is built in-house, a solution that if Amaka runs into an issue and simply send a text message to the executive chairman or the team, the Tax Pro Max team, they sit together, look at the issues, what are the gaps in the system. They adjust for it immediately. So in the course of asking Nigerians to migrate in 2021, so many issues, so many feedback were gotten from both the professional bodies, the taxpaying public, and within the system. And we sat, as you are giving us certain information or a feedback on what we need to fix. We sit as a team, provide solutions, and those things were fixed immediately. Like I said, we got 6.4 trillion last year, even in the midst of the pandemic called COVID-19, even when there was NSAS protests, even with security challenges, simply because the software is making a difference. It's making life easier and simpler for people. The tax administration or tax filing is becoming more and more seamless. You can be in your bedroom, file your accounts, file your returns, file your taxes, and equally make payment without coming to FIRS. What has that given us the opportunity to also do? We've come up with self-service centers in each of the operational offices. If you are that person that have run into one problem or the other, and you are finding it very difficult to be able to do certain business with us, come there. Our staff are there to put you through. And are you having issues of network? Are you having issues with your system? When you come there, those things are provided for you for free of charge. So we're making progress with Tax Pro Max today, and it will be better by the end of this year, because we are very confident by end of December. If Tax Matters Nigeria Limited, for instance, is a company or a taxpayer, it has paid the taxes in the last 3 years. The thing that the software is going to be able to do for our taxpayer is that the moment you finish applying for your tax clearance certificate, I can assure you the next minute you get an approval or you get a rejection letter. Before, in law, and still in the law, you have 14 days. But we're making it very simpler that by the end of this year, when you apply on the 1st of January next year, and you have paid your taxes for 2021, you've paid your taxes for the year 2020, you've paid your taxes for the year 2019. That is for the accounting years, which invariably are 2020, 2021, 2022 years of assessment. By the first day of January next year, when you apply, the next minute, as you are giving us applications, you are left, we are giving you the TCC with our own right hand in this next minute after the application. But behold, if you have 1 naira tax liability that you are yet to pay, you equally get an instant letter of rejection or a notice through your email. That is the story so far about the tax format.
Viewers, this is where we draw the curtain on today's episode of Tax Matters. The FIRS needs your support. The country needs your support. Pay your taxes as and at when due, and the country will be better for us all to live and work in. We really appreciate your time, Executive Chairman, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.